and welcome to the BarHaven podcast. We are a fantastic D&D community. We started a fantastic podcast called the BarHaven Podcast. My name is Jack. I'm the BarHaven coordinator. I work with BarHaven people for the past 2 years or so.
I'm Carlo. I am the Master of Fables and founder.
I am Zach, and I am the chaotic GM for BarHaven, running Burnout Mysteries.
I'm Jib, audio engineer and GM.
Fantastic. I'm super excited for today's episode. If you haven't listened to the first episode, which was on and off YouTube for a second there, Jib is our audio technician, and they're absolutely fantastic. And this time, they're mic'd. We love that. And Zach is one of our fantastic GMs. He's been with us for a bit now, and we're excited to have him on this episode.
Almost 2 years.
2 years?
Almost.
Oh, yeah, you've been here for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. And Carlo's been here for a bit.
Well, yeah, technically.
About what, 6 months?
Yeah, only whatever.
I zone in and out, so technically.
But if you don't know what BarHaven is a D&D company or a tabletop RPG company in Houston, Texas. And we partner with locations all over, bars, taverns, breweries, coffee shops, game houses, all of this stuff to bring in a little bit of a party on a slow night. We provide a safe, comfortable location for beginners and long-term players to play any sort of tabletop, primarily Dungeons and Dragons, for a couple hours, have a drink, have some food, great time. But for today's episode, we are actually going to talk about something not crazy specific, but we're going to talk about main character syndrome. Now, I don't think there's a crazy definition for main character syndrome, but I'm actually going to hand it over to Carlo. Tell us, what are your thoughts on main character syndrome?
Well, main character syndrome, I find, is part of that burgeoning vocabulary in the hobby. We all know words. Almost everyone who has played more than a couple of RPGs will know about grognards, or will know about what a nat 20 versus a dirty 20 means. This vocabulary, as we're kind of building it with the news generation of the hobby, has things like the main character or the main character syndrome. The definition that we use when we discuss the 4 pillars of professional gaming, which we will go on about in a whole other episode, the issue of it, because I don't like saying the problem or the problem player. That always sets up that the person is a problem, and my philosophy does not make room for that. In my mind, main character syndrome is a collection of habits where someone forgets that other people at the table are entitled to be having a good time, and therefore kind of leech the attention, the spotlight, the focus. Usually not intentionally, and usually not. It usually doesn't come from a mean-spirited place. In my experience, it's I'm so excited to be here, I'm forgetting to let everyone else play.
Another thing I've always kind of thought about with main character syndrome is a lot of the newer players who have never played any kind of TTRPG games. When they come in, they think, okay, I'm used to playing video games or reading how this is in the book and everything. They're not used to playing as a community, as a unit with multiple people. So that's why when I first started playing D&D, I always had to tell myself that nonstop was, I am not the main character. This is a group setting. Everyone has a role to play in this. Do not try to take the spotlight, because the spotlight is shining on everyone.
Absolutely. I remember, I think I had a conversation with you, and I brought this up. If you've ever played Skyrim, if you've ever played Elden Rings, not Elden Rings, if you ever played the video game Skyrim, there's this, it became a meme. You buy something from the merchant, you say hi to this NPC, everyone good? Cool, I'm going to hit quick save real quick, and now I'm going to murder everyone in town, and then load my game up, and I'm still a hero. You can't do that in RPGs. There's this tendency to just forget that there are repercussions and other people and the storyline matters. And if you just go off and are the only one that matters, if you're the only player and everyone else at the table is an NPC, you can't reload your save and go back to where everyone was having fun.
Wait, are you saying y'all don't have those buttons at the top of your vision field that let you do that?
What do you mean? I have a whole system.
Wait, isn't this game just Baldur's Gate with paper?
I'm not allowed to play Baldur's Gate yet. Crystal said I'm not allowed to play until the summer when I can take a month off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you will become obsessed with that, and you will probably not.
We're
show
not
up
going
to
to
any
see
of
you
the
for a solid month and a half.
Exactly. That's the plan. Yeah.
I am on my third playthrough, and I still have not beat the game.
Uh-oh.
That's okay. We're here for the story.
One thought I have about main character syndrome is it's not necessarily the idea that one shouldn't be the main character. It's the idea that everyone is the main character.
Absolutely.
It is
100%.
the game master's responsibility to make each player feel like what they do matters, and that they're playing an integral role in the main story, that characters from their backstory appear, that they feel like a real part of the world.
Yeah, and going off that and kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, when I first joined BarHaven, I showed up to Penny Whistle, and Martha, who is an incredible GM, she was in my first game. And when I started playing, at one point we separated the party because we were gathering supplies, blah, blah, blah. And I was with another player. It was just the two of us. I did probably about 85% of the talking throughout that. But after a moment, I looked at him, I'm like, do you want to say anything? And he just looked at me and says, no, this is you right now. He explained later his character is just the strong silent type and everything. But the way Martha also handled it, she gave me time to role play that character, but then she found a good cutting point for me and then moved to the rest of the party where they were able to do that. So I had my moment in the sunshine, but then she managed to find a stopping point for me and moved on to the rest of them.
I think that raises a great point, and it agrees exactly with what you just said, Jib. Just the idea that it is the responsibility. It is the responsibility of the DM, especially from my point of view, as we are building what it means to be a professional DM. So much of it falls to, it's the DM's job to make sure everyone gets that moment in the spotlight, everyone gets their moment to shine, and they curb that behavior. Again, not a problem, but a bad habit. And leaning in at those points where, okay, your character is not there, like, that's a great point, we'll come back to that. What are you going to be doing in this? Like, and kind of pulling focus, racking focus like a good director. This scene doesn't need more attention. This character doesn't need more attention. We need to know what this character is doing in this moment. And I'll always go to that responsibility. It's the DM's job to bring that over and sort of teach the players at the table to make room for each other, just because we've all had the statement of, you're not there, let this other person handle it.
Yeah, one of the things that I've tended to do, because I get a lot of, we have a few lady game masters, game hosts at BarHaven, and I've definitely struggled with, as a GM, talking up, making sure the story goes on, and dealing with main characters who really want to do things during the game. But, I have 5 other players that also really want to do things. And one of the things that I've kind of adopted is going through, say one person wants to steal the apple from the market. And they explain, okay, well, I want to go steal the apple. This is what I'm going to do. I'm like, okay, well, Margaret over here, how do you feel about this? Does your character want to chime in on this situation? Before he starts any actions, to try to get them involved in that situation. So it's not all about this one player who wants to do this one thing. So I kind of do a rotation, making sure
I enjoy
call
that.
out people.
I enjoy that tactic of, hey, player X, how does your character feel about this situation? Trying to encourage other people to engage, think in character for a sec.
Yeah, the first step of that is, what does your character think? How does your character feel about it? Because it's very easy, especially with D&D and I'm true of other systems as well, it's very easy to get into the crunch and the mechanics. Oh, I don't have a power that says that I do something. I'm not talking about your powers. I'm not talking about your abilities. I'm not asking to roll anything. I'm asking just make the choice. How does your character feel about that?
Oh yeah, it's kind of similar way with some of the games I've had. Not just about the feeling, but also going back to what you said earlier about like characters not being there. Like if they're doing their shopping stuff or someone does something a little sketchy, and then suddenly they're back together and they're like acting accusingly to that one character. I'm like, technically you weren't there, so you actually have no idea what's going on with that. So your character's pretty oblivious to that. and just finding ways to incorporate all the other characters into that story and that scenario is kind of a little challenging, but it's a challenge I accept and welcome.
Yeah. And this isn't to say that you can't engage with the absolute, and I'm bringing this up because of you, Zach, the absolute chaos that comes from these choices. I'm going to steal the apple. Okay, how does everyone feel about that? We're all for it. Yeah, let him steal the apple. Cool. Now we're going to go on a nail-biting chase where the entire guard is chasing everyone through like the opening scene of Aladdin because the rogue really wanted an apple. And now the whole party is in on it. That leads to a great time if the whole party is in on it.
Oh, yeah, because you can always go with that storyline of, four of the members are doing this, making the plan. Well, fifth party member, I'm just walking straight into all the traps, triggering all the alarms and stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then you run with the consequences of the action. But as a GM, you have to gauge whether or not that will come off as, oh, shit, kind of funny thing, or more like, oh, God, we hate this guy. We're going to kill him now. You have to kind of gauge that, and you have to actually be able to go, hold on, stop. You're actually not doing that. We're going to get the other group to come into that.
On Carlos' point, that means we can use the 5th edition chase rules, which I love, and no one uses.
No, they don't.
All right. So I want to kind of go around, and you can hop on and off the topic. Have any of you had a situation of main characters in your games, or maybe you yourself or one of your friends as a player was kind of in this main character syndrome where they wanted to take over the story or do their own thing, but there's also 3 to 5 other players? Discuss. Carlo, go.
I would like to pass because what comes to mind for me is a game where I believe it or not, I actually got to play. I wasn't DMing, but it was the DM who had chosen to be the main character. So I want to come back to that just because since that's such a flip on its head. So can I pass to someone else who wants to go first?
Yeah, Zach, go for it.
Yeah. I actually have been pretty good and pretty lucky on it. I haven't had too many instances, but I think the biggest instance for me on that, one of my favorite games I run is Mini Mannequins, and at one point at the very beginning, they're taken to the palace to get their reward, and they said, okay, you're each going to get individual rooms to be able to be pampered before dinner. Well, one character was like super sus about the whole situation. He's like, nope, I'm just going to go and leave. I'm just hopping back in the carriage. I'm going back to town. I'm like, I'm having to work all in this and everything. I'm like, your entire party wants to be here. It's part of the quest and everything. And he's like, no, I'm leaving. I'm just going right now. And I'm like trying to war this in. I'm like, oh, the carriage is gone. You guys are about a 5-hour carriage ride from the town and everything. And you're going to go away penniless in this situation. Just trying to, I actually had to pull him to the side. I said, hey, man, I understand this is your character and everything, but I need you to kind of go along with the story a little bit and everything, because he's like, oh, this is how my character is. I'm like, I understand, but I just need you to kind of dial it back just a hair.
If that's what your character wants to do, then they can sit there quietly, walking away for 2.5 hours and not engage with the story, I guess.
Yep.
I not to butt in there, but I think a player has a responsibility to at least try to engage with the story.
Yeah, 100%.
On top of, like, if you think what your character would do is walk away from the adventure, then I guess you can do that, but you're not going to have fun.
I'm not a big, and this is going to feel like a departure, but I don't particularly care for baseball personally. A very dear friend asked me to go with him. So I said, cool. Which color? What? Red or blue? Which team is ours? Red. And I screamed and I roared for red because I went to a baseball game. I paid too much for a beer. I paid too much for a hot dog and nachos. I got a hat, which I think I just left behind. No, I gave it to a kid. I gave it to some kid. I'm like, here, you're a fan now. Because I couldn't tell you who played. I didn't care. But I went to a baseball game. Now, my character of who I am does not care about baseball. But I came to the game. So I'm going to root for the team. I'm going to get the hot dog. I'm going to have a good time. You know what would guarantee me a bad time? If I showed up to the game and decided I didn't want to play.
Yeah.
Now, I will encourage, and I will put that nicely, but in the deepest, darkest, angriest part of my brain that I try to ignore, if that's what your character do, great. They're fictional. You're a real person. Engaging with a game with people that you should, I hope you enjoy. How about you play a game in the spirit of the game we've agreed to play.
And going into that whole, it's what my character would do mindset, yes, that can make for some really good sessions or role playing with that. But at the same time, you have to find that fine line of good gameplay versus just acting like an ass. Because, for example, in the campaign I'm in with Marcus, my character brought up he loves magic. His whole thing when he was a kid was he wanted to become a wizard or a sorcerer, but school wouldn't let him. So every chance he gets to learn some magic, he takes it. And at one point, he gets the Ring of Winter, which is a sentient evil ring. And if he fails the checks on it, then he will be taken over by the ring and be forced to try to kill everybody around him until he dies. My character learned this, but for 2 weeks, the player, was contemplating whether or not to try to attempt to attune to this ring. And I went to my GM. I talked to him. I talked to Marcus. I'm like, hey, I really do want to. He's like, is this what Cassian would do? My character. I'm like, he really actually would try to do this. He's like, okay, that's fine. I'll talk to the players, see about it and everything. And he told me, make sure to bring a second character sheet. But my character managed to attune to it without issue, which was surprising to him because he had to rewrite a bunch of stuff now. And also because this ring is really strong.
He was sure you were going to die.
Oh, he was 100%. Like, he had his map and minis ready. Yeah. But like I said, if I had taken it and it had gone wrong, it could have not just gone wrong for my character. It could have gone wrong for the campaign because it could have derailed him. I could have accidentally killed a player and that would have made them upset. But I sat down, I talked to them about it, and I said, I wanted to do the whole, I want to keep it a secret, they don't know and everything, but I was like, listen, the characters won't know, but your players will know.
And they should, yeah. Exactly. I think you handled that really, really well.
And I think you should engage, it's kind of like a group project. You want to make sure everybody's involved, a good percentage.
Yeah, you don't want
game.
One. It's not like in high school where one person does all the work and then you take the credit.
Yeah, especially with BarHaven, you kind of paid for this.
You
don't want to just sit there the whole time. You have a team. You're supposed to be engaging in teamwork, and you have a story. What happens to a book if you just stop reading? You're not part of the book anymore. That kind of thing. I myself, I've had a couple of little main character people in my games. I usually do what I said earlier, try to go around, make sure everybody, before this person takes an action, do you have any thoughts on this? Kind of thing. And that usually helps in my situations. Jib, did you have anything on your end?
I don't have any stories like that off the top of my head. I guess I'm just such a great GM that people can't pull it off at my table.
Yeah.
You really are an amazing GM.
That's the only thing that makes sense.
That's the only way that could have happened. But in all reality, there's some stories I could bring up, but I don't want to
You don't want to.
I get it.
We don't put someone on blast.
Yeah, I don't want to put someone on blast. Yeah,
you're good. I just really hate Jib. Jib's such a. I'm kidding.
Yeah, say that in front of anyone. Say that in front of BarHaven, and
I know I'll get
cooed. So.
I will basically. I'm going to lose all my positions.
They're like, Jack, we know you helped found us, but you need to get out now.
I want to go back to Carlo though, because Carlo, I don't know if you know this, Carlo has years of experience. He's written books. He's done, I think in the previous episode, you listed your whole resume and I was sitting there with my mouth open. Insane. What
She's been working
was
with me
your...
for 2 years now. She's wrote
literally
books?
I didn't hear...
Yeah.
I knew about the books. I didn't know about the theater in the original Shakespeare.
Edinburgh?
Crazy.
That's Carlo's GMC intro.
I was about to say he mentions that in majority of his GMCs.
Yeah, I know.
I have to, because there's always a question why are we listening to you? I promise it makes sense.
I swear I have the credentials. Okay, I want to go back to your DM or /GM who was the main character.
Right. So agree with the idea of we're not yelling about somebody with my fist in the air. How dare they? But just this, it was this very initially very quiet undercurrent of my NPCs are important. Your character's choices don't matter. what part of it that came to a front was there was a field with a bunch of naked people, and in order for the players to get in, all these characters that had picked up a lot of magical armor, because he would just keep giving out magical items. So all the magical armor people had to get naked in order to like sneak into this place. So they had to be absolutely naked, all armor, no clothing, leave everything behind. We came up a way to like, well, my character was a barbarian, so all he wore was like a fur skirt, and that's all he bothered with. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to take our bag of holding, put everyone's stuff in the bag of holding, and put it under the skirt. Like, well, they'll ask you, like, but you said they already let him in because that's all he was wearing. They checked him. Okay, so when he goes and puts it back, and they're like, oh yeah, well now he has to be completely naked. Okay, fine. I'm a barbarian. I'm more dangerous the less clothes I have on, anyways.
Give him something to look at.
Yeah, but it throws everyone's at disadvantage. They're just all impressed. And right away, before initiative, before any attacks, he had decided that, they recognize that you're a threat because you are a barbarian. Like, how do they know I'm a barbarian? I'm just a naked guy. Everyone here's naked, and this guy's cut. She's in great shape. There's no guarantee. They can tell that I don't need armor, so he immediately attacked me with something and just informed me that my character was paralyzed. Like, okay, well, it was a constant. Like, so like, yeah, it's concentration. It's a concentration thing. I was paralyzed. Fair cop. Okay, I'm fine. I rolled terribly. I'm used to dying. I'm okay with that. The rest of the party moves in ahead of me because they do not know that I've been paralyzed. So they all run in, and this is a rogue. This is a cleric. They are significantly weakened. They run in, they get in, and they are all hit with the same spell. Like, oh, excellent. I storm in. No, you're paralyzed. Wait, the character is holding concentration on the spell 3 times? What? Well, you said he was using a concentration spell. So that if they hit him, then they could break concentration. I could come into the fight. Well, trust me, he can do that. Well, he literally can't. In the game of D&D, he literally cannot have concentration on 3 different spells.
Hold person, I assume.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and then later on, he pulled me aside because I went pointed out, like, that's in the game. There isn't a way to do that because that super breaks balance. And like, are there other people there? No, he's all alone and he goes on and just tells you about how magnificent his character is.
The hold person spell is super busted if it wasn't concentration, because getting auto crit by every attack is some bullshit.
Yeah, considering
so there needs to be
a really low level spell. If it was a max level spell, sure, then it should be game breaking or a max level. But we're not a max level. I think we were level 3 or 4. We were very low level, so we should not have been. We should also not have had all that magic armor, but that's a different discussion. But it was just that. It was to show us how important and like death-defying and powerful this character was. Like, yeah, but they're not more powerful than us. They're you. We're fighting the DM with dice. You can just, if you're just going to decide that everyone is held and I don't have to hold concentration, like, well, then we don't. You could have just made it a cutscene. And I believe in that. I'm a big fan of the cutscene. I personally don't like it when the players decide like, oh, is he monologuing? We attack him. Let him monologue. He's been practicing this for a millennia. The Lich would like to go on about how he's better than you. As soon as he's done, please hit him. I'm on your side. I want you to win. I don't want the Lich to win. I want you to win. I've been practicing the and for eons I've planned my escape from hell. I hit him with a firebolt. Let me do the thing, man. I've worked on this voice. That's all I ask.
But interrupting that with a cantrip is just rude, honestly.
Yeah, it's just rude. I will. I do make a point personally. If anyone says like, I'm not going to interrupt the monologue, but I want to do this as soon as he's done. I give that person advantage on the initiative order. Like, oh, you go first. I want you to go first because I do want that to happen. But do let me get the monologue out first.
Yes,
but
please.
You'll never catch me alive. Fireball.
Go.
Exactly. It's like, please. We wrote these speeches. We put effort into these. We didn't just wing this. Let us have our moment.
It folds in your backstory. He reveals the secret that he's actually your father's best friend. It's important. Let me get it out.
If you
there's laws of war. You don't hit the drummer. Come on.
Rude.
Wait, there's a Geneva Convention in D&D?
What?
There's a Geneva Convention in D&D?
Yeah, you never know.
Switzerland is a fantasy world.
Yeah, it's true. It doesn't exist in the real world.
If you can, as the DM, if you want to make your characters feel just utterly useless and you do it within the rules, it's just so much more powerful because they're just like, oh shit, this person is beating me. They don't have the little excuse tingling in the back of the head that like, no, that's not allowed.
Yeah, they don't have that
Like,
that disempowered. The person is disempowered because you've just chosen to be more powerful.
Yeah, like that guy, your DM, if he had just said, oh yeah, all three of you stepped on glyphs of warding and you're now paralyzed or something, or you set a trap and y'all get hit with arrows with paralysis poison or something on them and you fail the checks and everything, then yes, that is so much more understandable than, oh no, he's just so powerful right now, you're all just struck in awe and paralyzed. I'm
No initiative, no saves, nothing. Just you are all just paralyzed.
And now, a word from our sponsor. This BarHaven podcast episode is brought to you by Calm Healthcare. Founded and run by our very own BarHaven players, Calm is on a mission to make excellent healthcare affordable and accessible for all. With Calm, just sign up and get started talking to Dr. Guzman right away through secure messaging or video calls. For $50 a month, you get diagnosis, treatment, prescriptions, and direct access to a doctor anytime. No more wait lists, appointments, doctor's offices, and hidden fees. As an LGBTQ owned and operated clinic, Calm is proud to provide a safe space to get gender-affirming care. Services include mental health diagnosis and treatment for conditions including anxiety, depression, ADHD, PTSD, and bipolar disorder. Calm also specializes in medical weight management to help you achieve and maintain a healthy weight. Have other recurring needs or just want the peace of mind of having quick and easy access to a doctor? Reach out to Calm Healthcare and find out how they can help you get the care you need. Check them out at calmhealthcaretexas.com. Use the code BarHaven at checkout to get 15% off your subscription. Now back to the episode.
Carlo, so with that situation, I want y'all's two opinions on this too. Say your DM, your GM, your game host is having a little bit of a power trip, or you have a fellow DM who you've gotten a couple complaints about, like, hey, like maybe they're not letting their players play the game. They're DMing for themselves, basically. How do you, as a player or friend, basically go about that situation? What do you say? How do you interact? How do you make sure that you don't step on their whole parade, but you make sure that shouldn't happen? That kind of thing. What are your thoughts?
Get scared, run away, and not talk to them ever again.
Oh yeah, we absolutely ghost. We just leave the whole group.
But in all seriousness, it's important to communicate with your game master and vice versa. If you feel like a player or someone else at your table is not holding up their end of the social contract, then talk to them. Well, if it's another player, maybe talk to your GM first. But if it's the GM, talk to the GM. Say, hey, this situation, this enemy that had the magic hat that can concentrate on hold person for them, made me feel...
The cave did it for him.
The cave?
The cave it was happening in, that did it for him.
Oh.
Because caves can have concentration.
Caves can cast spells.
They can't hold concentration.
Yeah, I'm here for it. Well, I'm not here for it. I might be here for it.
Turns out the cave is the ear of a giant, and you are now like actually inside them, and they are able to maintain concentration.
I mean, I feel like if you've ever seen a D&D horror story online, the solution always proposed is talk about it like adults.
We're adults.
We try to be, but again, that doesn't always work. But it's important to at least try, I would say. I don't know. I feel like...
Absolutely, yeah.
I feel like talk about it like adults is kind of a cop-out answer at some point, but it definitely should be your first choice.
Yeah, one of the things that has helped me, well, in any sort of situation where I have a player or a fellow DM or somebody I need to talk to in BarHaven, you have a set, it's called mediation. You can look up all of the mediation tactics, and I've done a game master class on this. There's a couple of steps, but the basis is, find their side of the story, find your side of the story or the other person. You figure out where they're coming from. Like, why is there something that you want to get to as this main character? Is there a point that you you're too excited about? Is it because you and your character have an agenda or something? What do you feel about that? And then you say, oh, well, I understand your point. this is how I feel. Like, I feel like my character didn't get to do the thing that they wanted to. Maybe, and then you propose like common ground. Maybe we can work together to get to this point. Or maybe, you know, if you hold back your character, you know, the rest of the party can jump in at a later point, that kind of thing. That's what I've done in similar situations. Zach, I know you wanted to say something earlier.
Okay, so for me, I will say I always try to take my players' advice. Like, if they say, oh, I don't want to metagame this or anything, I'm like, if you know something about the spells or about certain conditions, let me know, because I do not know everything. I know I'm a GM, but please let me know, and I'll be able to take that under advisement or look it up and see, oh, you're right, I'll do it this way. I will say the worst experience I had, and it was all my fault, it was TPK night, and it was my first and I've only TPK I ran. I was kind of stressing out in my mind and everything. Okay, I want this to be a good game, but at the same time, I want to do the whole actual TPK experience and eliminate these characters. And their final round of combat, and ironically, the spellcasters, they had Hold Person, and that made that spell way too OP, because I was using my laptop and D&D Beyond. And this is the first time I ever used the spell, or I actually even seen it used in the game. Because I've never had anybody use that spell before. And on D&D Beyond on the app, you can clear it. Straight up says concentration, but on my laptop, whenever I pulled up the spell to look at it, it doesn't say that. It just has a very
little C.
Yeah, that very small
copyright.
black diamond with a C on it, and I kept missing that. And one of my players, he actually said, "Hey, isn't that spell concentration?" But I'm looking at it and I'm showing him, I'm like, it doesn't say concentration anywhere on this. So, but cause I was trying to also because I was like kind of stressing about the time, because we were going over and everything. I'm like just trying to get this game through and all that. And the end, I pulled a couple days later, I talked to him and said, "Hey, I'm really sorry about this game. It was not a good game for me to run." And he did tell me, he's like, "Yeah, I was a little disappointed in this game, because it's a higher end game, higher experience, you're paying more, and I did not produce."
Hey, Carlo, what the hell's TPK night?
TPK night is the thing. One of the many things that was a good call that I voted against. But TPK is a total party kill night. The idea is everyone runs Everyone runs a higher level game. They sometimes get magic items or what have you, but the main idea is it is the only adversarial games we run where the DM's goal is to have a total party wipe. I'll often come by the table and go, "Hey, I'm going to buy you a shot of the good stuff if you kill them all, or I'm going to get you a gift, or I'll get you a prize." And even at my table, it's like every survivor gets this. We'll get and then only one survivor. You. Jib was the only survivor, and I got him some nice. I got him a nice. I believe I got you a nice whiskey, didn't I?
Yes,
Did we get
it was delicious.
Writer's Tears or Green Spot?
It was something Irish. I'm not super experienced in Irish whiskey land.
Okay. Buskers, maybe.
No. It was nice.
Nicer than that.
Not to talk down about Buskers is delicious. I'm not,
Oh no,
I
yeah.
got a problem with
I
Buskers,
don't
but
know.
I wanted to get
much on
something
high-end
fancy.
stuff.
What I learned from that is running away pays off.
Yes, because at the end it's just like, yeah, it was all. Something I like to do is leave clues of something, so that if there's a twist, it always makes sense. So there was all these hints, like, oh, there are vampires coming. No vampires. At the end, like, oh, the village you were saving? Oh yeah, they're all vampires, and it's midnight when you left. Oh, and he just took off. Like, I'm out. I'd leave. Like, correct. Yeah,
You took
it's a
the rope
village of
tactic.
vampires. Leave. Don't stay there.
Yeah, one of the things that I think, like we say total party kill games where, you know, the DM tries to kill all your party members. A lot of beginner people are like, well, you know, DMs can come up with any sort of storyline. One of the things that BarHaven tries to do during total party kill night, it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's a rules-based game, but it's your players against a set storyline with set numbers, that kind of thing.
We want it to be a fair fight.
Yeah, a fair
that they are
fight.
not likely to succeed.
And mine, like I said, because I felt horrible about this, it was not a fair fight the way I made it and everything. But yeah,
mistakes happen. That is the nature of life, and that will continue to happen. It is important to go in thinking if you're going to be using a new spell you haven't hit the book, check it, make sure you have that stuff. Prepare yourself best you can. But mistakes will happen, and I think you did the right thing in like going and reaching in and reaching out, to the person saying, hey, I was wrong on that.
Yeah, and again, I sat down with him. I talked to him. I said, hey, tell me what can I do next time, or how can I fix this or make it right and everything. And me and him just sat and talked for a while about it. He's like, yeah, next time do it like this, or hey, I just want to express my feelings on the situation. And that's what I always try to do with any of my players. Like, if I know a session went really good, went perfect, and everyone's leaving happy, great. But if I'm getting any kind of vibe that the players one or more of the players didn't really get the whole vibe, or they were kind of sitting, I'm like, hey, just want to talk, say, hey, if there was anything you wanted to improve next time, or anything that stood out to you, just let me know and talk to me so I can improve.
I actually, if we have time, I have another main character DM story.
Go for it.
Yeah. Well, let me just to touch on it briefly, and then I do.
Let's finish yours up.
I do want to touch on. I think what each of you have brought is excellent. Have the conversation. Treat each other with respect. Jack's idea of mediation, of put yourself in their shoes. Why are they in their head correct and right to feel the way they are? Embrace that first, then have the discussion. Here's why I think I'm right, and find something that you can both agree on. And if nothing else, it's probably going to be, hey, we tend to enjoy playing games together. Let that be what kind of guides you forward. Zach, you going and doing that and talking to the player directly. Exactly that. Jib, as you said, it is the onus of pretty much of the DM in every one of those D&D horror stories. Talk to each other like adults. And it sounds difficult, but really it is exactly that. Where are you coming from? I know you're not doing this to hurt me. You're not mad at me. We don't have a problem as people. We have an issue that we're both sharing. This isn't working for us. Having that conversation ideally is what we do. And I think because for BarHaven, as we're not home DMs. We are sometimes too, obviously, but at our tables, we're there as professional DMs. So it is part of that service forward attitude of my job is to make sure you're having a great game. And just being willing to ask, how can I do that? I think is important.
Yeah, we're not all Matthew Mercer or Brendan Lee Mulligan. We don't know every single rule or every single detail and stuff.
Both those DMs have made mistakes, and there are entire Reddit posts about it, I'm sure.
No, 100%.
Mistakes are possible. It's how you deal with them. It's how you apologize and go forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, Jeb, what was your
story? This is like main character syndrome extending from a character to the dungeon master. I remember a game that I played in where the quest giver was this DM's character. I'm going to make up a fake name. I'm going to say this DM had this character named John, who was just this amazing badass rogue who could protect everyone. And we're going to this village invited by John. We all have these crazy stories of how we met John or how John saved our life. And John's like, all right, hey, I'm really busy defending this entire town from the impending threat. Can you all go and reactivate the shields? I felt personally when I was playing that game that my character didn't matter. This is just like, there's this character that's 10 times more powerful than us, 10 times cooler than us, always succeeding because they're played by the GM. And we're all sitting here like, what I wanted to say in character is just, you do it.
You got this.
It's one of my biggest pet peeves in a GM is when you bring in like one of your characters from an old game and start talking about how cool they are and how awesome they are. I am of the belief that the players at a table should 90% of the time feel like they're the coolest ones in the room. Yep. Not all the time. Agree. It can't be all the time because then how are they going to be scared of a villain? Or maybe I think a fun tactic for making a villain be scary is have this really cool person just get obliterated by them.
I swear I was going to mention that too. It's like, yes, that would have been so much more motivating, and everything is, oh, I'm bringing in this old character. Yeah, he's like the most badass you ever seen. Then all of a sudden, the villain appears and slices his head right off with no effort. Boom. Utter terrifying. Oh, God, this guy was like level 15. We're level 3, and we have to go and eventually fight this guy. Yeah, terrifying.
What was that kids movie with
beheading?
No. It was these two kids, a boy and a girl, and they got sucked into a video game, and it's from 2007.
No, that sounds so familiar.
Spy Kids?
Was it Spy Kids?
Wait, it was Spy Kids 3?
Yeah, one of those. Jib has a computer.
Yeah.
Because
this is a bit of a trope.
Okay, wait,
a lot of
Spy
things have
Kid-
had
the
them.
first-
Spy Kids 3D. Game
that's
over.
the one
Yeah,
where
Game Over.
he goes
That's-
into the video game and Sylvester Stallone's in it. And yeah.
Well, in that game, the two main characters go off, and about a third of the way in, they finally meet this person that everybody has talked about
Yes,
to get through
and
this
who's
door.
played by Elijah
and
Wood.
he opens the door, and he dies immediately. All
Yes.
99 levels down to
Yes.
0.
It was Elijah Wood too.
Yeah. Crazy.
Also,
Sorry, that just reminded me of.
Also, side note,
Weird.
the second movie, Steve Buscemi had the most badass line that did not need to be in a kid's movie. He straight up said, "Do you think God stays in heaven because he's afraid of what he created?"
Oh dear, that's too deep for a 2007 movie.
Not even a 2007 movie. A movie about kids who go to a island where this guy first made shrunken animals for a miniature zoo, and then he tried to merge the animals, like literally making
Too crazy.
a spider monkey, literally a gorilla and a monkey mixture, and then made them too big.
Yeah, insane. Anyways, that was a weird tangent.
I mean, it's Robert Rodriguez. This guy played Machete, and apparently those two movies are in the same universe.
Yeah.
He didn't play Machete. He's the director. Danny Trejo played Machete.
Yes, he wrote.
He,
Oh my goodness.
he created the El Mariachi series.
Yes.
Jack's making the hand. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's go. Okay.
I'm a big fan of Robert Rodriguez
But
for the most part.
I think, sorry, my point on that was I understand how you're feeling.
Oh yeah, let's get back to D&D.
Yes. There you go.
But that would be a really cool game though, right? What was I talking about? My tangent has absolutely
Kids.
ruined
This isn't
my...
the edibles episode. I promise.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
well,
do we get to do one of those?
maybe.
Exciting.
We
This
should.
might
I
be
feel like we should.
on
I-
the to-do list.
If I'm on audio, I can't. But
yeah, that's
True,
true.
but we should add that to the list of topics. There should be an edibles episode just to
Just for funsies.
imbibing while playing is a topic I think we should discuss. We probably know better than most.
Oh my goodness.
We can even invite one of our locations is Celtic Cross Meadery. Very nice folks. They make a special mead for us every once in a while.
That's true.
And they originated. If you need some mead, Celtic Cross, they're delicious, and they have really great brews. They their origin is they played D&D together, and they started drinking by making their own mead. They just brewed it for themselves just to have something in universe, and then they were like, "What if we quit our jobs and just made mead full time and played D&D with the rest of the time?"
Goals.
Right? Exactly.
That's not at all why I started a D&D company at a bar. I don't know
Completely
what they're
unrelated.
feeling. Anyways,
I don't have
really
a
glad I
history of
met you,
alcohol
Carlo.
abuse.
Dungeons and Dragons, we do not have drinking problems.
No, definitely not. I don't go to bars 7 times a week.
Yeah, and because our our ceremony for introducing new players, just because we say hi so and so, it like an AA meeting does not mean we are having an AA meeting.
Definitely not.
Kind of the opposite,
There's
actually.
too many drinks for that.
I remember at Penny Whistle last Sunday, someone legit thought we were having an AA meeting in a bar.
yes, there was a guy in a.
No way.
I'm stumbling now.
You're fine. You're fine.
I didn't hear about this. I wish I had met him.
I
bought
was
him a
like
drink.
sitting at the bar. I was sitting at the bar ordering a drink while announcements were going on because I wanted a drink, and I remember like some of our regulars were like talking to this very loud, obviously inebriated gentleman who was very excited that we were having an AA meeting at a bar and very disappointed when he found out it was just a bunch of nerds.
Wow.
Oh, denim jacket.
I think so.
Yeah, I talked to that guy.
It was leather vest, I think.
I thought it was. It might have been a denim patch on a leather
Who
vest,
knows?
but something like that. Yeah,
That's crazy.
But yeah, I remember him shouting, "Oh my God, are y'all having an AA meeting? I want to join. I want to join an AA meeting in a bar."
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, yeah, no.
Yeah, maybe at another episode we'll talk about, this is kind of BarHaven specific, but as I said at the beginning, we are a D&D company or a tabletop RPG company that meets at different venues, specifically alcohol related venues. And sometimes during these meetups, we have some people not involved come up to our tables or during announcements or to any of our staff, and they start asking questions. And that's fantastic. We love questions. But sometimes these questions are not the direction that we like. So maybe in another episode, we'll talk about some situations that we've had that were just kind of random and confusing and also a little bit conflicting.
yeah.
But as we kind of wrap up, so last week you didn't hear Jib talk about talk about the way they got into BarHaven. And Zach is a first time on the podcast, so I want to start with Zach, and then we'll go with Jib. Zach, how did you get started with oh my goodness. How did you get started with BarHaven? And maybe how did you get started with D&D? We're going to be short and sweet, and then we'll go to Jib.
Yeah, D&D. I saw it on TV and heard stories from other people how they played it, and I really wanted to play it. I read up on it, and I was sitting in my apartment, and like the whole time my family was like, "Why don't you ever go play Dungeons and Dragons? You're always talking about wanting to play." I'm like, I don't know anybody who plays this game. Nobody ever wants to learn how to play it. And then I just got on Facebook, and I literally just went to the group section on Facebook and just typed in Dungeons and Dragons Houston, Texas, and BarHaven popped up. And for about a week, I was too nervous to go out to one of your events. And then I saw y'all had a really big event, a huge amount of people. So I just, in the comments message asking about it, and Jack, you responded saying, yeah, just show up. I'm like, what about dice? I'm like, you get dice when you show up. And I showed up to Penny Whistle, nervous as all get out, didn't even want to approach the groups. But then one of y'all guys actually came up to me and asked me about it. And I said I was here for BarHaven, and y'all pulled me in. And a couple people actually helped me build my first character, Willie, the halfling rogue. And I took off from there, and now I'm a GM with BarHaven.
That's fantastic. Oh. We always love that. I love stories like that. I'm just glad our advertising works, honestly.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's 100% Jack.
All right, Jib, how'd you get started with a little bit of BarHaven, or with a little bit of D&D, and then how'd you get into BarHaven?
On the Dungeons and Dragons / tabletop RPGs in general front, I had been watching actual play content since I was a small child. Since like before Critical Role came out, I was like, this seems so cool. I want to play this game. And eventually, my friend in middle school came up to me and was like, yo, you want to try playing D&D? So we all pile into his parents' basement. We're middle schoolers. This is normal. And we go enter these mines, and my friend says, I blow up the mines, and kills us all. And apparently he just didn't want to play. So that was cool. Multiple turns out that if you really want to play D&D and no one else around you wants to, and you're organizing it, you're expected to run the game. 2 or 3 attempted campaigns later, I'm now doing my master's degree in Atlanta. I hate my life, and I drop out. I spend a month doing nothing, and then just start applying to every job I can. And I get a job in Houston, Texas. I move out here a couple months later. I Google, I'm like, okay, how do you make friends? Your hobbies. I Google Dungeons and Dragons, Houston. And I find some listicle that's like...
that's right.
Oh, I remember
that. That's right. Houstonia Magazine?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that.
And I was like, oh, this seems cool. Oh, you got like a location like a block from my house, my apartment. So I roll up and I talk to Crystal. I am very scared, very not confident, very much not the Jib everyone knows who can't shut up about how much they love themselves.
I remember that, Jib.
We just adopted
a year plus
you, honestly.
later, and I'm here.
Yeah, we just
been a
said
year?
you're...
Much longer than a year for me.
I think it's been more than a year,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think I remember you joining.
your Ziploc bag of mixed dice.
Oh, yeah. No.
Oh,
My
yeah.
whole Ziploc bag. It ruptured, and I replaced it with an actual dice bag.
Very
and
nice.
It's not as good.
Hey, we love a good, like, solid plastic Ziploc
I once left
bag.
that plastic bag at my friend's place in North Carolina, and I had him literally mail it to me.
Wow.
I need my dice.
It's a lucky dice bag. I need one of those. All I roll are 1s and 2s. I don't think I've ever rolled above a 12.
We don't let Jack touch our dice.
Really, it's a cursed thing. Okay. Well, we're going to wrap up the episode. I want to thank Zach, Jib, and Carla once again for letting me do this thing that we can put on the internet and make content for. I want to thank our listeners, and especially our members. Y'all are the reason, we exist. I think we have 1,000 people on the Discord now, maybe a couple more 100 on Facebook, Reddit. I know there's a couple on Instagram that keeps us relevant. Zach's raising his hand. If you want to get involved with BarHaven, I do suggest joining that Discord. The link's on the website. It's also on the Instagram under like a link tree thing. Otherwise, if you don't want to get a Discord, we keep everything updated on Facebook, Instagram, on the website. We don't really have a mailing thing, but we can sure try if you're interested. Just give me your email address or regular address. I'll send you letters. Might as well. We have weekly meetings for just some regular level 3 D&D games, and you can check out our Discord if you are not into D&D and maybe some other types of alternative tabletop games. We also have some larger events. One of the big events coming up on January 20th. I don't know if this episode will be out by then. We're going to find out. We have Dungeons, Dragons, and Drag, which is going to be a super awesome event where we play D&D for a couple hours, and then we partner up with Jador Productions in Houston, Texas, and some other cities in Texas for a drag and burlesque performance for all of our members. It's going to be super exciting. Lots of drama, lots of fashion, lots of song. And then on March 3rd, one of our biggest events yet is going to be at Carbach Brewery for our folklore festival.
Yeah.
Woo, we're very
so
excited.
exciting.
This is our second anniversary event. Last year we had a Hobbit festival, but due to some sort of copyright issues, we're not using the word Hobbit. We're using the word for folklore, which I can't even say anymore. This is going to be a 2,000 person event. We're going to have 25 to 30 vendors. We're going to have food trucks. We're going to have beer. It's going to be at Carbach Brewery, which is kind of northwest Houston ish. Lots of parking. It's a free event. If you want to play D&D, we might have some short games. We're going to have a D&D show. We're going to have performances. We're going to have music. We're going to have some other stuff.
I'm planning 1 minute dungeons with prizes.
Ooh, this is very exciting.
If you survive.
Yeah. I'm finishing up some of the vendors now, but it's going to be crazy exciting. We hope to see a lot of our members and maybe some new members out. You can dress up, eat food, have a good time. It'll be the whole day, Sunday at Carbach Brewery on March 3rd. More info on that will be on the website and other social media. But for now, we're going to wrap up this episode. I'm Jack, BarHaven coordinator.
I'm Carlo, the Master of Fables.
I'm Zach, the chaotic GM.
I'm Jib, audio engineer.
And this was the BarHaven podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Look out for kobolds.